The team kind of carries some of the driver's personality. Lazy teams usually have lazy drivers. There's no way they're legal. I think this is something that NASCAR needs to address.
Other sports, they've had lockouts. We can't do that.
The twists and the turns, they keep getting more and more interesting.
This big hand comes grabbing my shoulder and he says, you just got to be proud of everything that you've done. Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick, Kaitlyn Vincie, Mamba Smith.
Big pause there. He's got the P1 up. Well, we know why.
What happened? What happened, Kevin?
Well, you picked the winner.
Did
Chase Briscoe.
Oh.
Yeah. Good for you.
Gosh, it's about time.
Look, I told you guys, when the playoffs came around, I was going to be locked in. I was going to turn it up. I'm like Penske. You know what I mean? Playoff time hits, I'm locked in. I'm ready to go.
No, you weren't like Penske. They were not there this weekend.
Well, yeah,
you're like Toyota right now.
Yeah. You're more like a Toyota.
Well, I picked a Toyota, so that makes sense.
That's right. Very nice. And
Toyota's dominated.
They sure did.
They spanked them.
Spanked them
yes,
back.
They did.
And then how about Legacy? That was badass.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it all.
Don't spill it all, Mamba.
Sorry.
That's right.
I'm excited.
We are all excited. Welcome into episode 60 here of Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour. 9 races to go. Can you believe that?
I can't believe it. The season has gone by.
It has.
So quick. But
Very
man,
quick.
have we had some twists and turns throughout the year.
The twists and the turns, they keep getting more and more interesting. We will recap everything that happened at the playoff opener in Darlington. Look ahead to Gateway, Worldwide Technology this weekend, and you got your sips.
We got the sips, the closers. Listen, you know what's
Still out
really
in full force?
it's just crazy. It's just I'll never get sick of it, and I think it's so cool that they come up to me behind stage like, "Hey, man, like love the podcast. Like you guys love you guys' dynamic, love." And I'm like, it's just so great, and they really love the Mamba social sips. So
People
we're
do
gonna
like
keep
the
doing it for
chemistry
you.
on the show.
I know one person who doesn't like it.
Who's that?
Piper.
Piper?
We went to PetSmart yesterday. And so we go to PetSmart yesterday.
no.
She's like, Dad, I need a couple more fish. I said, okay. So we go to PetSmart. We get to cash register, and the kid was super nice. And he's like, aren't you Kevin Harvick?
Mm-hmm.
And we walk out of the store. She's like, Dad, I am so tired of people knowing who you are. We can't go anywhere without somebody knowing your name. I
boy.
said, well,
Unfortunately.
I don't really know how to fix that, Piper. We can't pull the plug on that one.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got an extension coming too because Keelan's locked in.
The Harvicks are not going anywhere. The people are going to be recognizing them for a long time.
Yeah. Keelan did a great job this weekend.
That's funny. You'd think she'd be used to that by now.
No, she does not like it. She is not very, she's not very people. She likes people, but she doesn't like people.
Oh, who's like that?
Delana?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it. I knew what you were gonna say. I was like, I'm not saying this.
Yeah. I think it's there's some fortunate and unfortunate parts about what we've done and what we do, but Piper is not a fan.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you how much Delana doesn't like people. Keelan wins the pro race, the Car Store Pro Race at Florence, and we're all in victory lane. I'm like, oh, this will be great.
Let's
get a nice little
there
picture
together. Yeah.
She dives out, like sprints out of the picture. I said, where are you going?
I actually
she just doesn't
appreciate
love
that
them
about
like
her.
that.
She doesn't like the limelight.
No.
And she's not one of those people that inserts herself into it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not really for us, right?
Mhm.
It's not. Let the team and the kids and whoever is in that moment, let them have their moment with those people. I mean, we're happy and proud and excited, but you got to let them have their space to learn how to deal with things and what it's like and not feel like all that. You never want to overpower the situation to make it feel like it's your moment where you're trying to make it bigger than it naturally is. Yeah. So
I respect that.
we try to balance it to, when Keelan's having those moments, it's not about me. It's not about her. And if you insert yourself and make it about you, then it's, I don't know. It just feels unnatural.
Big weekend for you, though. You had that. You were in the truck booth. Got to hear you.
I'm not sure who's planning my schedule, but it's not based on efficiency. I know that for sure. We got home at like 2 a.m. I'm planning the schedule, by the way. So that's my plan. They're planning the race schedule, the TV schedule. All that is I'm not blaming it on anybody. Those are my choices. But I think when I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning and had to be at the studio at 10, I was like, oh, this is a short morning.
Yeah,
you did a great job. I was out there on pit road.
It was fun. any race at Darlington is going to be interesting, and the truck race was exactly that. We saw a lot of the inexperience early in the truck race with guys banging in the fence and Chandler Smith taking himself out there early in the race, trying to get too much. But those trucks were a freaking handful. So were the Cup cars, but
treacherous
everything at Darlington past about lap 20 can be a full day's work.
Got to give Corey Heim a lot of credit. In his win interview, he was like, the risk versus reward to running the top, I didn't see it. I felt like that was he's a vet. Like his mindset is different than the people that he's racing with and where he's at and what he's trying to do. So,
it definitely is. Like Scott Zipadelli was saying that just about how wise beyond his years he is. He called him an old soul. Said one of the biggest things that's different about Corey than other drivers he's worked with is he just doesn't make mistakes. He's like, we've made mistakes as a group, but very rarely does he make them.
Yeah. And I think unfortunate for Corey Heim, I think that when you look at his position kind of being stuck in that Toyota system, not being able to really know what to do with him, and has allowed him to become that veteran of the truck series. But there's also there can be some flaws that get created with being stuck in the trucks too long, with the habits and things that you do and work ethic. And I don't think work ethic is going to be a problem for him, but I mean that by just developing and pushing towards the next skill, whether it be Xfinity or Cup for him. He can do either one. Yeah. But he's kind of stuck in this weird spot that in the Toyota ecosystem that he can't get out of, and probably as good, if not better, than some people in some of those positions above him. So, but they're taking full advantage of it by just putting an absolute thumping on the rest of the field. I will say that Lane Riggs and Chandler Smith were in contention to give Corey a run for his money at the end of that race. But
hate that for Lane
at the
Riggs.
end, 11 team didn't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
And neither did Chase Briscoe's team. So let's talk about the Cup Series now. This race, I was pretty surprised to see the amount of playoff contenders who had issues. We had talked the week before that we thought pit road was going to be an Achilles heel for teams because of how many times they have to come down pit road. But were you surprised by some of the playoff contenders that had problems?
I was not. I think that we see it every year. You get to a racetrack where, there's a new element to the racetrack where you have to race the racetrack. Super easy to make mistakes. A lot of amplified enthusiasm as you start the playoffs, and it can bite you. And I think pit road was definitely a place where we saw a lot of trouble. But I think a lot of that trouble started for some of our playoff contenders in qualifying. And we've covered the Chase Elliott piece of the scenario about him saying that he and his team need to qualify better. They didn't qualify good. Alex Bowman didn't qualify good. SVG, kind of in the middle of the pack. But even the guys at the front of the pack, we saw Christopher Bell get in trouble on pit road. We saw Denny Hamlin have trouble on pit road. Almost everybody had trouble on pit road in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. Were you anticipating some of the things that we saw there?
I mean, I think we talked about it. Like the most pit stops happen in the Southern 500.
Right. Yeah.
Because every time you get a chance to get 4 good years, you want them and you need them.
Yeah.
And so it's more opportunities for mistakes and trying just to make sure that you're not making those. And that's not just the guys going over the wall, but that's also getting your driver into the pit stall, out of the pit stall, communicating with the teams that are right next to you. Hey, when are you guys kind of coming down? Like, so we don't have a crossover problem because you're working. Yeah, like Bubba, or even so Bubba had that situation with Zane Smith, I think, and then I think Blaney got caught up. Who got spun out? Holstevar got spun out.
Holstevar got spun out.
He got stuck behind him
by Seabell incident, but now he's stuck behind him. So all those little things, like pit road, is just it's a team deal. It's hard.
And I saw. I mean, Bell was really frustrated after the race. He felt like Holstevar didn't have anything to race for. But I will tell you that Holstevar, what did he finish?
Top 10.
Top 10.
Yeah, he finished ninth. So I think when you look at these scenarios, the crew chief on the top of the pit box or the spotter is responsible for helping the driver get out of the pit box. But I can't ever remember a time when I wasn't looking in my mirror and didn't know who was pitted around me and what was going on and could see a car that was out of line. So I think that don't know that I don't think Hosafar did anything wrong. I think that the call out of the pit box was probably aggressive, and I don't know that in a couple of these, Bubba was obviously paying attention because he stayed in the pit stall and drove through the pit stalls. Bell just pulled right out of there like nobody was coming. And with the way that the mirrors and everything work, you can use them to be able to get out of your pit box and pay attention. So I think that I think that is unfortunate for Bell, but I think some of that responsibility ultimately lies on them.
Mm-hmm. And having the wherewithal to be checking and doing
Yeah.
that as well. So Chase Briscoe led 309 laps. This was a very impressive performance by him. I know you already spoke to him for the victory lap, which is available now. What did he have to say about the big win?
Well, one of the things that I took out of the interview today was just the fact that he's starting to feel like he belongs. And he's a consistent contender to win races, not just part of the field. And you know, that's a big change when you go from just being in the race to being a guy that can win the race, because the way that things happen up in front and the execution level that is expected to minimize your mistakes and execute to win these races is different than running 15th. You get a lot more attention. You get a lot more. You have to take a lot more responsibility. You take a lot more criticism when you do things wrong, and to execute under that pressure in the top 5 and running up front, you have to do it. And they've been doing that, and now we see it turn into another win. We saw it turn into top 5s. Now we see it turn into another win, but man, does it come at the right time.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, from where they qualified to the speed they have, to the pit crew, to the driver, it seems like 19 team, all boxes are getting checked right now.
They like the pressure.
Your winner.
Hey, my guy. They like listen, the lights were on and the pressure was on. They felt like they had one of the best cars this weekend. And you could tell through practice and tell through qualifying. And it's different. We talk about it with SVG and Steve, his crew chief, Steve Doran and stuff. Like on road courses, they're expected to win. Chase is now expected to elevate the team into winning situations. They've been putting it on the pole at a lot of places. He just came up this much short of having a pole at all 4 Crown Jewel events, which would have been cool. But the team is now rising to the occasion too. And we said it last week. I felt like the 23 and the 19 were the most dangerous drivers in the field.
Oh, he nailed that.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Good
Where'd
job.
Bubba finish?
I know. He was 6.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, well, and I think that another interesting nugget that came out of that interview for me, I feel like the team kind of carries some of the driver's personality all the time in how they execute and things. Like lazy teams usually have lazy drivers. I think and that is developed through the driver and the crew chief. And I think that when you look at the 19 team, we know James Small is absolute cannon, right? Like he is 10/10 all the time, up on the chip, push. Chase Briscoe, not so much. Yeah. Very calm. But he said that. He said, look, I think that I've actually brought something to this 19 team to make James better because I'm so calm. He's so high strung that we almost are starting to, now that we have some trust, balance each other out with not carrying too much enthusiasm, but not being so laid back. And I think that balance of driver crew chief is really what sets the tone of what your team's personality is.
See, it's interesting. We had this conversation off camera before we came in here about the fact that James was obviously paired with Martin Truex Jr. in the past. And you didn't really get to see a fair shakedown maybe of what James was capable of. Same with Chase on his former team. Now that these two are paired together, it just seems like it's a dynamic that really works.
Well, I think Martin got away with a lot. I don't think that he put as much effort in that Chase Briscoe does. I think Chase Briscoe from the driver's seat is putting more effort in off the racetrack, whether that be in the simulator with the team, in the meetings, whatever that may be, listening to what the team has said publicly about the difference between Chase and Martin. And I think that effort that Chase is putting in by doing everything that the team is asking him to do shows the team that he wants it as much as they do. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, those people also start to even work harder. Mm-hmm. And once you earn that respect of the team, that you're going to put in the effort and you can drive it behind the wheel, all of a sudden they start listening to the things that you have to say about the car, about the setup. And then that relationship starts to blossom into, what it's going to be once the honeymoon is over. But I think that the effort that Chase puts in compared to Martin off the racetrack is the reason that they're winning races, and the reason that they're consistent contenders. And you don't really hear the blow-ups on the radio between driver and crew chief because there's a respect level because of the effort level. And I think that Martin got away with not doing a lot of the things because of his position in the sport. He's been there for a long time, veteran, and it didn't really get controlled. I think that with Chase, it's like, okay, if you don't do what we say, you're going to get fired. Right? Like they're not going to do that they aren't going to do that with Martin Truex. Really, that's how all teams should be handled, whether your driver is a veteran or a rookie. And having the right crew chief makes a big difference in that. But Martin got away with that for a long time, made it work to decent results, but probably never achieved the results that he could with this team because of the effort that it takes with this car. It's not like the old car. You can't just show up and race. You have to be a part of the process on a weekly basis, daily basis for the evolution of the vehicle because you're looking for crumbs. And when those things start to happen on the racetrack, the team being around you more and more and more in the simulator and having more and more conversations at dinner, lunch, whatever that is in the shop, those conversations lead to more details. And I think that's what you're seeing out of the 19 team.
That's pro sports.
That
is pro sports at its purest when everyone is pulling in the same direction, and you got to have almost a good cop, bad cop. Like it's very hard to have two people that are all, we're just gonna go through, or two kind of hard asses. Like you look at, Kevin has talked about it with Rodney. They balance each other out. I think in the conversation you had with Jimmy Johnson, him and Chad, they balance each other out. I even think of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick when other players talk about what those dynamics were. Everyone loved Tom. Everyone thought Bill was a hard ass, but they balanced each other out and they made each other great, and that's what you got to do.
I think when you look back at that, how did Bill Belichick do without Tom Brady?
Didn't work very well.
Yeah,
and it was different.
So you're saying the quarterback had a lot to do with the team.
Well, that was the best quarterback in the quarterback in the world.
I was just checking. I'm just relating the quarterback to the driver and just thinking about, I don't know.
Listen, you can't win a championship without a good quarterback.
I'm just saying.
But you also can't do it without a good coach. Now, I do remember when Tom Brady went to the Bucs, he had a lot of that Patriot way in him that came from a lot of Bill Belichick.
New team, though.
New team, some of the same players.
Yeah.
You knew that would probably come back around at some point.
Did you do intros this week?
I did.
How was it?
It was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't have any more moments with driver 11?
No, someone tweeted it. People asked me backstage, though. They're like, did Denny respond to you?
Did he?
I'm like, nah, he don't want the smoke. So,
did you guys speak about this?
No, we haven't spoke.
You have not.
Did you shake hands on stage?
No.
Fist bump? Anything?
Nothing. No, he came out and he stood right in front of me.
Oh, he ignored you.
I don't know if he ignored me, but he knows I'm there. I'm not going to say he ignored me, but he knows I'm standing there.
Interesting.
Everybody else saw me there.
Okay.
You realize that we're going to fuel this.
Please.
Okay.
With crude oil.
Yeah.
The most flammable.
Just remember, Tom Brady went from Team A to Team B and still won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but Kevin Harvick didn't go from Team A to Team B and won the championship, though.
Yeah. True.
Okay.
But Team A, Team B, we still did good.
I'm not saying he did.
Let's talk about Team B, Barry. Well, I'm really trying here, guys, to make these segues. So lap one, he gets loose. It looked like contact with the 45. What did you see here from Josh?
Well, I saw the car drag the ground for a long ways,
Yep.
and the thing is that they probably didn't go over is there's a patch off of turn 2, and that car started bottoming out before that patch, before he even got to the patch, and see it right there before it gets to the patch. So if it's dragging right there, it's going to be super low by the time you get to the exit of turn 2. So, I think that obviously the heights were set really low, and I don't know that. Well, obviously Josh wasn't expecting it to drag the ground right there because that's really early in the corner. So looks to me like they just missed their heights right there and too aggressive on the back of the car, and it got on the rub blocks and bottomed out. And when it hits those rub blocks like that, it spins out. That
is almost the exact same spot where I think that happened to Blaney with Martin Truex. I think Martin bottomed out and then wrecked in that same area. Yeah. So it's for you to, it makes sense. And it was on a restart similar to that, to where at that part of the racetrack, it's really rough. And if you miss it a little bit, and maybe he was a little lower than he has been there. I don't know what his line has been like. So
the thing that really was impressive about, it wasn't impressive for the 21 car, but it was impressive for the 45 car, Tyler Reddick. He hit Tyler Reddick square in the door. And that save that Tyler Reddick made right there, to not have that car snap back to the right and hit the fence, to just slide that car perfectly and come up off the corner straight, was
that's a championship
changing moment for the 45 car, and came back to finish second. So could have been over and demolished on lap 0.
Can we, since we're talking about the 21, so he got the fastest lap.
Yes.
Right? So he got this extra point.
He rejoined the race at stage 2, I believe.
Right. With 100, he was down 100 and whatever laps. Now, if it was me, I'm not saying that this is what's happening, but if it was me, I'm already wrecked. We're already out of the race. There's only, I can work on, like, we can try stuff. No one's teching my car.
Yeah.
At the end of this race.
Right.
We kind of talked about it. Is it fair that when you come back, that you can get the extra point for the fastest lap, because now your car might be what isn't legal?
There's no way they're legal. Yeah, and I think if you go to the garage, I think this is something that NASCAR needs to address at the end of the year. If you go to the garage and you get put on that clock, you are not eligible for the fastest lap.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously we've seen Kyle Larson do it a few times.
Some nonsense going on.
We've seen Josh Berry do it now at a high grip racetrack.
That car was wrecked.
That car was wrecked on 3 of the 4 corners.
Right.
And, I think if you go back to the garage, you should not be eligible for the fastest lap. Right. And I know we're talking about 1 point or what's the incentive. Don't care. I think if you go to the garage, you shouldn't be eligible to get that point.
We're talking about 1 point, but they're doing it. So,
and it's happened multiple times.
Right. So if they're doing it, then it's important to the teams.
Right.
Right.
Yes, they figured out a loophole here.
They're going to find every single one that they can. And,
always.
And, yeah.
So that was Josh Berry's day. That was very early in the race, obviously lap 1. A little bit further in the race was Alex Bowman having a very horrendous pit stop. 40 seconds we saw for the 48. Initially, it looked like the team thought the gun was malfunctioning or something. It looked like just total chaos as they were trying to diagnose it. Ends up being the hose unplugged from the box. But just a series of errors here. What did you see from this, Kevin?
A series of errors that are unacceptable. And, I think that when you look at this chaos right here, this is just structure, organization, and everything that goes with the moments. And, I think, it's just nobody knows what anybody's doing. Nobody knows what's happening. The air hose is unplugged. Just a complete disaster. And, I think that when we go back to talking about the team and kind of the demeanor, the structure of everything that goes with a particular team, this one looks very unorganized based upon everything that happened right here. So I don't know a nice way to say that, but it's this was a complete cluster.
This one's tough. That's a really tough one because they're in the middle of a bunch of things. I think if they would have just decided, the front changer there, if he would have just decided, I'm going to change this, it would have helped the problem, but they were so back and forth on what to do. And then they get stuck. The hose gets stuck in the front. And it was a disaster. And they went down, did they go down 3 laps or was it just 2?
It ended up being, I thought, 3.
Yeah,
I think it was 2 laps. He was 2. I don't know.
He made it back up by the end of the.
Either way, it's unacceptable.
They had pitted twice before that and didn't have that issue. So somehow they just didn't notice, obviously, I guess, that it came unplugged, right? Or what?
I'm not sure what's going on behind the pit box, but I would say that somebody's ass is on the line today. And who's ever in charge of keeping all that organized and the way that the conversations and directions came from the top of the pit box, there's a massive conversation that unfortunately unfolded in front of everybody.
Well, we talk about driver-team relations a lot. Well, if the end result is Alex only made it to the round of 12 last year when he really made it to the round of 8, but then the DQ came at Roval, and then this year, if he doesn't advance through this round, and you look at those situations, well, is it the driver not getting it done?
You can't blame that on the driver.
You can't blame that on the driver, so it's not, right? You know what I'm saying? That's an unfair.
The structure and details
situation
of this team it looks to be off based upon last year's situation at the Roval, and you're looking at this pit crew. It's definitely doesn't look completely organized.
The structure and details also seemingly off by the crew chief's words, not mine, for William Byron, who had a loose wheel. And Rudy Fugel said, "We are embarrassed. We've got to execute a lot better all around. We didn't do shit today," he said. "We have to improve and get better, race our ass off every week, or it's going to be a long off season."
Yeah, and I don't know, when you look at I don't know where to look at the Hendrick cars from Darlington, because we know the 9 qualified bad, and they continue talking about needing to qualify better and didn't qualify good. 48 was in the trunk. They finished 16th, 19th, 20th, and 27th. Now, 9 went forward. 5 was
mid.
I mean, he was just
kind of there.
He was kind of there, but not what we would expect out of Kyle Larson at Darlington. And we've seen William Byron dominate there.
Yes.
Yeah, he's dominated races at Darlington. And we've talked about the speed of those cars going into the playoffs and where they were. Well, I think we kind of got our answer. And when you see the way that the Toyotas fired off, obviously they had a little something in the bank to put on the racetrack for Darlington. I mean, you look at the Toyotas ran up front all night. The Legacy cars, the Gibbs cars, all of those cars 2311 cars were all in the front of the pack all night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you look at it.
I'm concerned.
I mean, look, so William Byron is plus 25. Larson's plus 38, so he's in a good spot. But then, Chase is only plus 9, and Bowman is down
It's
19.
a small margin, actually, kind of.
Really from 9th back.
From 9th back, everybody should be in not panic. You're not panicking, because if you panic, you'll make mistakes. But your sense of urgency should be very high.
Well, and the problem is, as I look at St. Louis, the problem is that's not a track that we say, oh, those cars have been Hendrick cars have been fast at St. Louis. That's not been a track. We think Penske when we go to St. Louis. We think concern for the 2311 cars with all their brake issues that they've had. So, I think this is definitely a concern right in the first round, because I think the 9 has the potential to struggle there. Well, the Hendrick cars in general have a potential to struggle at St. Louis. And if you have a bad round at St. Louis like you did at Darlington, you're going to be in big trouble headed to Bristol.
If they don't, I think the 9 and the 48, I mean, obviously, depending, this week we had 6 guys that are outside the playoffs finish in the top 10, right? So it varies on what the competition is doing too. But I think the 9 and the 48 need a top 10, like a solid top 10 with good points days to make sure that they're in good position going into Bristol, which is a better track for them. But Gateway could really make or break their playoff runs for a couple of the Hendrick cars.
So those are the teams we're talking about that struggled out at Darlington. But you mentioned Legacy Motor Club. Pretty impressive what Eric Jones, John Hunter Nemechek did. Yeah. I heard them say that Jimmy moving back to the States, because he was living in Europe, I believe, and now being back and involved at the shop more regularly has been very advantageous to the group.
Yeah. Well, that guidance and leadership from a 7-time champion, but also the owner, and having a presence there on a weekly basis is you can't replace it. And being able to have him have been in the car and understand what they're talking about and the things that they're fighting, and that results directly into being able to watch, listen, and learn just by doing that. And when you're there week after week after week, this is a problem-solving mission on a daily basis. What's today's problem or problems, and how do we solve them before they become detrimental to the performance of the race cars or an employee quitting or whatever that is? How do we stay in front of these problems on a daily basis? And that's what happens when Jimmy Johnson is in the shop and able to, in the right country, to be able to deal with those problems on a weekly basis. And you're seeing the direct results of everything that they've been working on. That is one of Eric Jones's best track. But you look at John Hunter Nemechek, I mean, right there with him all day. And those guys raced in the top 10, top 5 all day long, all night long. And we've seen steady improvement out of that organization. And I think, obviously, it's going to continue to get better because they put themselves in contention to race for a win.
I was, when we were flying to Daytona, I'm going through the E terminal, which if you've ever been through Charlotte, the E terminal is the furthest terminal
from everything.
From everything. And I'm about to go down the escalator, and someone rolls up next to me and hits my bag. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe they just, and they hit it again. And I look up, I said, who in the world had the nerve to hit? It was Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, it was
So Jimmy and I walk to their gate and talk for an hour. And he said that exact thing, like being back in the States full time, and being able to put his fingerprints back on the team and get the culture right, and understand that what the drivers are saying when they say this. Is that true? Yes, because I just drove the car and I know what they're feeling like. Yeah, what they're saying is locked in. And I think that Jimmy being in the shop, just like when Tony was at SHR walking through or Kevin walked through, it changes the air when your leader is in the building. And I think Jimmy is, just from talking to him, is really excited to be back and get this thing really headed in the right direction. And obviously they had this one circled. He was tweeting during the race.
I saw that.
Which I think is super cool. I don't know. It's Jimmy Johnson. It's one of our 7-time champions. You talked about it with him on the show, like his impact in the sport. And I think he doesn't know how impactful he is. And I think he's starting.
Oh, he knows. And he talked about it in that interview, just how, important it is for him to refire up his brand and the mistakes that he made from the driving standpoint to where his brand was and what it was to trying to continue that forward and push his brand while he had the opportunity while he was still in the car. Now he's almost rebuilding his brand. Yep. And as weird as that is to say about a 7-time champion, but he said it. He's like, I walk outside, Kevin, and I'm the third guy, but only 2 of the 3 champs, 7-time champs, have merchandise and a recognizable brand to be able to continue that tradition in the sport. And he's like, I just haven't done a good job with that. And I think him noticing that and realizing that, and I think that motivation with everything that he's doing off the racetrack, whether it's tweeting or his podcast or being in the shop every week, moving back home, all those things are him. Is really exciting for us because that means he's super engaged and interested in what's happening, not only with his team, but the sport. And his brand is a big part of the sport.
Yeah, I think if you look at someone like Mark and Matt Martin do a really good job with Mark's brand, with all the old school sponsors, like the Winn-Dixie stuff, people. All those, reminding him that Mark was that dude. Yeah. I think Jimmy could really do that, and I think it would blow up in a big way.
Good to have Jimmy's presence being amplified once again in the sport. All right, let's move on, guys, to Gateway this weekend, Worldwide Technology.
I love Gateway.
Raceway, yeah.
This is one of my favorite racetracks. I don't know. It's like, it was always like before it was a standalone when I was a kid growing up, and the Xfinity cars trucks would go there, and it was just a big weekend, and the track was different. It was a short track, and back in the day, a lot of young guys would get opportunities because you guys would be in the Cup Series somewhere else, so someone coming up would get an opportunity. It's just always, I don't know.
That's where I got my first win. I'm sure we can find the video footage of that.
Oh, we have to go through the VHS.
Back in 2000, that's where I got my first win in the Busch Series was at St. Louis. So St. Louis has always been a place that's kind of held a special spot in my career. So very unique racetrack. I think that Curtis and his whole group do a great job promoting this event. It's become a marquee event in that area, which is super important. It was for me personally, just because of Anheuser-Busch and the Busch brand and the Budweiser brand that we represented being in that town. But to see the amount of people, to see the engagement that they've created, not only at the Speedway, but everywhere else in the community. Major goal of the Speedway is to be engaged with the short tracks, whether it's asphalt, dirt, every charity event. You're going to see, the Gateway involved, worldwide technology. Worldwide technology involved in those community events, trying to make sure that the community knows, hey, we're here and we want to be a part of what you do as well. And I think that gets people to come out to the racetrack and support what they're doing.
They do a really good job, to your point, promoting Dave Stewart and his family that own Worldwide Technology, the company. They were the sponsor that kind of helped Bubba get the ride in the 43 and hang around for a long time. And now they, instead of leaving that sponsorship and being done, they kind of dove into really promoting the sport. And I think that's super cool. And they always have good acts. The backstretch when they fire up all those fireballs. Oh my God, the drivers say they can feel the fire.
You can feel the heat. You can feel the explosion. There's firework paper everywhere, ashes. I mean, it takes as long to clean it up as it does to explode. But it is a massive explosion and a really cool picture.
Yeah. Very energetic event for sure out there in Gateway. Cup Series, though, hasn't been there very many times. No. So not a lot to go off of there. 3 times, yep. You mentioned that it's very unique. What makes its distinctive shape and characteristics?
Well, we talked about 2311 and the brake issues that they've had. I had that same brake issue. It is a balance between the brakes that you bring, how much do you tape the front of the car, how much tape do you run on the front of the car, or how the temperature, you can't really run tape, but the temperature that you run the brakes at. Right. So it is a balancing act as far as what you do with the brakes, because of the fact that the straightaways are so long. You use them so hard going into the corners. Yep. So usually typical is a double downshift getting into turn 1. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on from the driver's seat, but a very difficult racetrack to make your car drive really good. But you've got options from a driver's standpoint. You can run that middle higher line through 1 and 2. You can dive down and pass. So you've got a lot of options. You got a bump to deal with over there in 3 and 4. So challenging track from a driver's standpoint, because it's very unique. But the brakes are definitely a question mark as far as what's right. I always erred to having too much brake, but we'll see.
Okay, so let me ask you. I think about Phoenix and Gateway and how important brakes are and how you use them. Would you say, can you learn a lot for Phoenix on your brake package, or not so much?
Not so much.
Not so much.
No, because the straightaways are so long and the turns are so sharp.
Yep.
So it's it's a heavier brake usage than it is at Phoenix. Yeah. But you also have such a long straightaway to cool the brakes back off. That's where the issue comes in with the cracking of the rotors and everything, is when the brakes heat up and then cool too fast, way back down. Mm-hmm. So it's finding that balance to keep the rotors from cracking.
So drivers and teams will have their hands full as it pertains to getting the setup right at this place. When we look at this playoff picture, Logano, Dillon, Bowman, Berry are the drivers currently below the line. Who of that group do you think could potentially get above it?
Well, I think SVG's, he's going to have a tough time with all the ovals left on the schedule, getting through to the next round. We've seen the potential to have a lot of trouble on pit road and all those places. Those problems aren't going to continue not going on. They're going to keep happening. I think that, I don't know how SVG, this might be a place where with the braking and downshifting and everything happening, that he can be, a little bit more further towards the front.
Yeah.
I think that the Penske cars have shown that they're the best cars here in the past. Not that means anything. The Toyota showed up this week and just spanked them, so they might show up and do that. But I would lean towards the past history with the Penske cars. So I look for Logano to go forward. I look for Josh Berry to go forward. I'm worried about Chase Elliott and SVG going the wrong way this week because of things that are happening. So I think from, you look from Austin Cindric down, I think Cindric will run good this week. Ross Chastain, I have a question mark around with this weekend. So we'll see, but it could go 100 different ways. Yeah. But based off of past history, those are some of the things.
Yeah, Ross is one of the few people who didn't have a problem yesterday, surprisingly. Yeah. But Austin Cindric, defending winner of this race.
Yeah, which he won that one off of fuel mileage, right? So the guy that would have won is in the 12 because he ran out of gas.
And he needs a good run after all the chaos that happened.
Well, he's 22 up. They had a weird deal. Like he got caught up in that thing with Kyle Busch. And then what really happened to him was that they ran so long on the track that it grounded the bottom of the car, and then the splitter was all messed up, and that took all the downforce away from him, so the car didn't drive the same. But if I'm Josh Berry, I'm like, all right, I gotta make it happen. Like we gotta make it happen here, because he's 19 away, which isn't that far, but with one race, it's a ton.
Yeah.
Right? Like if it's Bristol, if you're 19 away going into Bristol, that's a lot to make up. So he needs to be about even. You know what I mean? I think if you're below the line, you want to be about even to give yourself a good shot at Bristol. So him, and then we'll see what Austin Dillon can do. Yeah. I don't know. Like we haven't really seen. We look at Richmond and it's like that's their spot to shine, but maybe him and Boswell can make some magic and give themselves a good run. Top 15 for them. being 8 down.
And Kyle Busch, a couple of years ago, won here. So, I mean, there's the possibility that they could do something decent this weekend.
He was good. Kyle Busch was good again this past weekend, too. He wasn't bad.
Well, we'll have to see how it's all going to unfold out there in Gateway. So one thing that continues to circle around is the lawsuit between 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports against NASCAR. There was another hearing that occurred. What, his phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ignore it.
I can't do that.
Teams would have chartered status for the rest of the year, and for NASCAR to not have the ability to issue the charters they had to someone else. That's one of the biggest pieces of information from the hearings. But it was very interesting seeing all of the text messages and things that were exposed to help bolster the arguments for both sides. What did you think about what transpired from this recent hearing?
Well, when I look at all the text messages, I think to myself, there's a lot of hate in this particular instance and animosity between the two sides, and I think at this point it seems personal. It definitely seems personal, and I think that at this point, when you look at all the things that the judge has told both sides, it's like, hey, this is going to not end well for all of you. So I would encourage you guys to work it out. I hope that we can get this worked out before December 1st, because I think it's going to drag everybody through the mud.
Yeah, I think regardless of how it ends, when it ends, because it will end eventually, I hope that we are in a better spot as far as working together as a group, and this doesn't happen again. I know that there's always things that happen, and a lot of times it's behind closed doors and you get it figured out, but you don't want this happening.
No.
Here again. The other sports, they've had lockouts and we can't do that. Like that's not how we operate. So I hope everyone, cooler heads hopefully prevail.
Yeah.
And we can get a little bit off of our petty pedestal.
Pedestal.
A little bit off of our petty pedestal.
Old Slappy coming up with some good sayings over there.
And we can all go back to just worry about cars on track and making that what it needs to be for everyone.
Yeah.
I thought the drop the mic moment was Michael Jordan saying he'd lost that money at the casino before and keep going.
Yeah.
I was like, well, there you go.
Well, that's the interesting part about it. It's finally, there's two sides that aren't worried about money.
Exactly.
So they're worried
really
about
the game.
fighting for what they believe is right, and what is right and what is wrong. Unfortunately, is in the court system. So I hope that they can figure it out amongst themselves before it goes all the way to drag everybody's face through the mud.
It's interesting. I gotta believe it got to be interesting for the judge. And because of the matter that it is with sports, and it's like you guys are all together, but you're not. You know what I mean? It's got to be a very interesting.
Well, and it's racing, right? So it's not like other sports.
Right.
Like everybody's racing against each other every week.
Yeah,
it's not. I don't know. It's just that the whole dynamic is different than a baseball, football, basketball type sport. So the dynamic of it has to be interesting for the judge too, because based off of those other cases, it's just a way different dynamic than any other sport.
The other ones, the teams own the league, basically. Like the other ones, where here it's not. So that's where I think totally the biggest thing. If you're the judge, you're trying to navigate that.
The judge told both sides, if you feel certain you're going to win, you're wrong. So that decision is supposed to be made this week, I believe. We're supposed to have more. Yeah, no decision until this week, supposedly. But I was going to say one more thing about this. We've talked on the show throughout the course of the year, the distraction this causes for, say, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace. What type of mental acuity do you think it's taken for them? Because if we're basing it off last week's performance, it doesn't seem to be impacting them.
Yeah, I think that the two drivers are probably annoyed more than anything because they just want to race. They signed up to race. They signed up to go out there and do their job, and they're having to answer questions about stuff that they don't really want to answer questions about. It is a distraction. I mean, there's no way. I mean, it's not the same distraction for Denny Hamlin and as it is for Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, because they're not vested in the ownership of the team and restructuring the league, and so at this point it's annoying. I'm sure that they have to deal with it. I don't know the conversations behind closed doors that they're having, but they don't have the same motivation that Denny Hamlin does to fight this fight and in in the middle of everything with everything that's going on. They want to go out and do their job because they signed up and they, they're taking another year out of their career to go out and drive the car and try to perform and try to win a championship. So I have to imagine it's somewhat annoying, but when your cars run like they did this weekend, that's all you care about.
Not a big deal. Yeah, I think I saw a moment between Bubba and Charles DeNike, his crew chief, that I'm like, oh, they're really locked in together. Like they believe in each other. And that resonates, again, through your team. And you can block stuff out when the team is on the same page. Our job is to win this championship. Let Michael and Denny and Curtis and them handle that. Yeah. But our job is right here. And I think they're just locked into that.
Well, we will continue to follow this story as it keeps going and going.
Keeps giving.
It's it does keep giving.
It's giving a lot.
And speaking of giving, I think it's giving on your first sip of the day, correct? It's time for Mamba's Social Sips. We've reached that point in the show.
I thought we canceled this. No, I guess here we go.
Everybody in the world. It's everybody on the planet's favorite segment of the show. Kevin, Mamba's Social Sips. Let's get it going. Let me get through my notes here. By my notes, I mean the notes that Kaitlyn makes me every week.
Yeah, you can't figure out how to connect your printer to the Wi-Fi.
Don't worry about why I need Kaitlyn to print these for me. All right. So Kaitlyn we kind of talked about it a second ago, the humorous text. And the one that got me the most was the one from MJ. And he says, he basically says, like, I want to be locked in, like, let's do this. And Curtis is like, we're going to lose out on X amount of millions. And MJ's like, I've lost that much. I've lost more than that at a casino.
I didn't realize this was the one you were
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I
blew that for you.
It's okay.
Yeah, all that hype and build up and it's already been said.
I just took the wind out of this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But now we can actually see it verbatim if you're watching obviously on
good
YouTube.
Job.
You can see the text yourself.
Yeah, thanks, KB. But he also says that he's Curtis like, yeah, this is a hobby. And then Michael's like, well, I only can play so much golf, so I'm in it for the long. Hey, Michael's in.
Oh yeah.
Like even reading those texts, you're like, he's not going anywhere.
Backing down at all.
Nah, he's in on the sport. So I thought that was pretty funny. I've never seen it makes me think about my text messages
and hope that they never get subpoenaed.
Or just think that I need to make sure I'm smart about what
It's true. Everything has a trace.
Everything has a trace.
Yeah.
Especially in these type of situations.
Well, in this situation, we're all getting to see your text messages. So just think about that the next time you're texting something. Do you want me to see it?
Yeah, no, that's fair. If you never mind.
Yeah.
So this weekend, Dave Portnoy,
new Fox colleague,
is on the college platform, which is super cool. But he made his way over to the IndyCar, and he got to ride in the 2-seater.
Yeah.
You got to hear this. Let's run the tape.
Dave, you were in a hostile environment yesterday at Ohio State. Not a lot of love there for you, but what's it like in the cockpit? What are you feeling?
Oh, too fast for me. I go slow. I don't go anywhere this fast. Columbus was nothing. A Buckeye wouldn't be able to do this if his life depended on it.
I like the fact that his helmet's too big, his face is all squished over there. He can't pull his head off the headrest. His seatbelts are flopping. Like he didn't have any idea what he was getting into. That's awesome.
Clearly not, based on that reaction. I think at one point he said his guts are in his feet. Like that was a little later in the tape. Yeah,
he took a good shot at Ohio State. He's like, no one in Columbus could ever do this. He's a big Michigan guy. So I like when Portnoy is around motorsports. I like what he brings to the table.
Sponsored some car at like Bristol years ago, or Barstool did.
Barstool sponsored a car at Talladega too.
Yep.
So it's good when we have those guys.
Need to get him out to a NASCAR race.
Yeah. Well, he's been to plenty. He needs to come back though. So we talked about AJ Allmendinger, which I think AJ is one of the best talents in the Cup Series, and he does more with less, and it just is that's how where his career is at, right? But Colleague knows what they got, and they want to keep him around for a long time. But when you get respect from someone like Michael Jordan, like I don't know, I just feel like that's really cool, and that's kind of what happened here. Wendy Venerini with MRN is interviewing. Bubba came over, and then interviewing AJ, and
next thing you know,
there's a little
tap,
a little butt slap from the GOAT. I don't know. That just it's got to raise your spirits on everything.
I would think so.
And I think I've told this story on here, but when I walked out of Bristol the last year and we had a miserable day. missed the playoffs and everything that went down, and that was it. And I was walking out of the tunnel, and this big hand comes grabbing my shoulder, and he says, "You just got to be proud of everything that you've done. Don't worry about what happened today." And Michael talked to me all the way out of that tunnel. He was kind of like the counselor between the exit of the garage back to the motorhome lot. But he knows what's happening in the garage. He knows, he may not know you personally, but he knows about you. He knows about the drivers. He knows about the sport. And that's the thing that he's not here just to play. He's here to play and
he's here
win.
To win.
And he knows, he's very knowledgeable about everything that's happening in that garage.
I don't think we had heard that story yet, actually. That's
No?
interesting. No, I don't think you told that yet. Had he?
I don't know. Maybe not on the show, but
Yeah.
I've heard it before. But
Yeah.
we have a voicemail. And you guys know, you never know. You never know how the voicemails go. Let's run the voicemail.
Hey, Kevin. So I've been thinking about the days of old versus the days of today. And I was just wondering if you could weigh in on really the difference between what it takes to win a Cup Series championship today with the playoffs and even the chase when we had that versus before there was a postseason at all, where we just count up the points at the end of the year and whoever has the most wins. Which one do you think is harder to win?
That's a great question, because I've been involved in close point battles when there were no playoffs, and that same type of anxiety and things that go with the playoffs on a week-to-week basis for 10 weeks were still there for 10 weeks, because it was always, hey, I need to beat this guy. He's only 10 points behind me or 20 points ahead of me, or whatever the case is. It was that same sort of intensity. Now you have that automatic intensity that flips because of the playoffs, and you know that your championship's hopes are on the line every single week as you go through that. So, I've lived through that I've lived through it both ways. But now it's just every year you have that intensity that goes with it. Whether you're first and second, you have 16 guys that are experiencing it right now instead of just one or two.
Yeah. I mean, to add to that, I think that when you look at getting into the playoffs, for some teams, that is a championship. Like, it means as much to them to get in, for some, depending on where you're at, as it does to go on. So you're added pressure.
Yeah.
And pressure makes for great racing. So
to his point, do you think it's harder to win one over 36 weeks, or do you think it's harder to win one over 10?
Depends on the system. Like, if you're talking about the old, like, it depends on the system and how it's structured, but the old way is hard because the car, you've said it before here, to finish first, you first must finish.
Yeah.
So before, the struggle was, is the engine blowing up? Like, how many times have we blown up? How many parts malfunctions are we having? Like, now that part's gone. So, like, if you took the old, it's just different. I'm not really sure.
I feel like the system that we currently live in allows you to screw up more. I think that you can crash more. I think that you can have more DNFs. I think that, and I don't think you get penalized for that. Where the old system, if you had a DNF or you had to get back out on the racetrack, you worked as hard to get back out on the racetrack as you're seeing some of the guys do now to get those 1 or 2 points. But I think that the penalty for wrecking your car and doing some of the things that you can get away with now because you have a win aren't really there. So it's more of the kind of blend it all together and make it okay for more people. So I think you could argue it both ways, which one's harder. I think that the old way, it eliminates a lot of guys throughout the season. And so, bringing all those guys back in late in the season and giving them another chance, where, it's basically giving everybody a second chance to try to win the championship with the format that we're in.
And I think we don't have enough time for this on this show, but I think when you're talking about the business side and when you're talking about selling sponsorship and what that does and allows, I think that's important. And again, we've talked about it a bunch. Like, there is a balance.
Yeah.
We haven't found maybe the exact balance yet, but I think it's somewhere in the middle of the two. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Mamba's Social Sips. If you want to leave a voicemail, 805-317-4175, or if you want to leave a mailbag question, harvickhappyhour4@gmail.com. And hopefully next week, Kaitlyn won't spoil it for me.
I am so sorry. I don't know how I screwed that up.
It's okay.
I haven't messed it up all year.
You haven't messed anything up
You
all
give
year.
me
That's
just
the first.
one free
Everyone gets another chance.
Everybody
Yeah.
gets another
We're
chance.
60 episodes
We're
in.
60 episodes in. We get to reset for the playoffs.
That's right.
All right, time now, guys, for our last call.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario, new customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/audio. NASCAR is not responsible for this promotion and used under license.
So, Kevin, before we get into our picks for this week, let's take a look at the best bet of the weekend, courtesy of DraftKings.
You could have won some money this week, plus 750 on Briscoe.
Nice.
And you picked him as the winner. So obviously somebody should have known.
Did you put money on it?
No.
Somebody should have known.
Somebody should have known. Listen, I told everyone for the playoffs, I'm gonna be nice. I'm
Okay.
coming in strong.
Coming in.
Well, you started off pretty good. And
Thanks.
so did Chase Briscoe being plus 750. So if you bet on Chase Briscoe,
That's the money.
you were able to win some money. So take the checkered flag with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Harvick. That's code Harvick for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Crown
Piper,
is yours.
by the way, Kaitlyn, I talked to Piper this weekend. She is really working on this crown.
Oh, she is?
She's gonna.
Oh, yeah.
A homemade crown?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's-
That's way
yeah.
cooler.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
way cooler.
I like that. Okay.
Might be a little out of proportion, but
I'm not
It's
worried
okay.
about that.
it'll
It's a
be
crown
hand,
nonetheless.
Make
it'll
it
be
work.
hand built.
Yeah, it'll have meaning and soul
Yes,
to it.
exactly. We like a unique crown.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. All right.
We have enough unique in that chair.
We do have that. We love him for it. Okay. Time now to grade the burnout from Chase Briscoe. Pretty
Yep.
big display of celebration with the Polish victory lap and then the burnout and the family and the kid.
Yeah, he had a lot of the elements. I will admit that, but it was a good
Yeah.
burnout. I don't, nothing spectacular. He did blow the back tires off of
Yep.
it, so that was
See, I
good.
thought he would get bigger
That was
marks
good.
for that.
I enjoy we've got so many samples of good burnouts
Yeah.
at this
True.
point that it's hard to impress us. But he did a good job. It was a good burnout, and he blew the back tires off the car. No fires or anything though.
Right here. That.
Yeah.
That was
shout out
kinda
Jake.
cool.
That was
shout
good.
out Jake for getting
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
shot.
He
Job,
probably
Jake.
got some rubber in his face.
Definitely.
Jake.
Yeah, Jake did.
With the camera.
Yeah, with the camera.
But yeah,
Okay. So
it was okay.
a B?
Yeah, we'll give it a B.
A B?
I
for
mean,
Briscoe?
it's probably about as good as what Blaney's was at Daytona.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they're listening, so now everything is a little bit better. So now you got to really.
They are listening.
We
yeah.
didn't have high fives or any birds hanging out the windows or drifting against the fence.
You know
or
what you're gonna
anything
like?
that.
You're gonna like the Reddick win. His next win, you'll like that because we haven't seen it in a while. Because
He
he's
has a
in the
plan?
gas, and then he's usually hung out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
That
always
is
a good
cool.
one.
Well, hopefully it'll be this weekend.
Need to do it quickly.
He's my pick for Gateway.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
into the picks.
Yep.
Okay.
Going right into
yeah.
it.
Point standings. So let's take a look at him right now. Kevin is at 24. Reminder, he got 10 points for the regular season win, plus 2 points for each of his wins. You selected William Byron over the weekend. Mamba is at 12.
How'd I get there? Because I was
Is
at
it-
2 last week. What happened?
Plus 2 for picking the win during the regular season, plus 10 points for picking Chase Briscoe.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the win that I just got.
And
Sorry.
I don't need to say.
Yeah.
We're moving on. All
You're
right, who-
participating. It's like it's our second chance. We had to create a second chance system, just like the NASCAR point system.
Yeah.
Well,
Second chance system.
I'm going to stick by my selection of Tyler Reddick. He was top 5 at Gateway last year. I think we've been ramping him up on this show today. He goes to victory lane.
They definitely need to get to victory lane, and that's the first time we've seen the speed out of Reddick like that.
Yeah.
It's been a while. So I'm gonna go with Old Faithful Ryan Blaney.
You know
Old
what's crazy?
Faithful.
What?
Is I was going to go with Ryan Blaney, and I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney.
Good.
Okay, so you see, because
good.
now it's like we used to say we didn't want to pick the same, but all gloves are off. 'Cause
Well,
this is the
yeah.
playoff time.
Yeah,
so
it's-
stick by your
Well, he knows
guns.
he'll only be
Yeah.
12 behind next week if I
Well,
win.
it's playoff time, and I honestly really thought that
It's a strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's trying to keep it tight and just take a little chunks out of his
Yeah.
lead.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. Well, we
hopefully more of these people sign up to vote so that we can keep beating them as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we encourage the fans and the closers to keep getting in on the action. Submit your picks by scanning that QR code on the screen, or you can go to the link in the description of the podcast to play along with us.
That's right. Please
Submit
pick
your
so I can make fun of you when you lose.
I would
He does it to me every week.
I would
Join
say-
the club.
Take a look at that number 2 car. Take it like the 2 and the 21 this week.
So
your picks.
Tyler's telling me only 25 people. Is that what you said, Tyler? 25? 25 people picked Briscoe this week. So good job out of those 25
26
folks. 26. Yeah, did that?
Oh.
I don't know if that number reflected
Yeah,
on
you
the
don't count.
selection. He doesn't count.
It did it in the point standings, by golly.
There you go.
All
right, guys. Well, this has been fun for episode 60. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review, leave 5 stars, and we'll see all of you after Worldwide Technology Raceway. Got that
There
right
you
this
go.
time. See you then.